Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the final race of the FRS weekend here at COTA, PC Division 2. I'm Greg Harrison, otherwise known as Harrington. I am back from a week in the Algarve, and obviously I'm delighted to be here. No, seriously, I am. And I am joined by the ever-present Sean Provenza, otherwise known as Quimbulus.
How are you guys? How are you doing? Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation, your holiday away. Did you find yourself commentating on the kids racing around the pool, swimming up and back, and seeing who was fastest? Or
Specifically not, because we were at a adult-only hotel, which is
fair.
honestly an amazing decision. I could not recommend that highly enough.
So the question within an adult-only hotel then is: was there shambles in the bar area?
Absolutely yes, and most of that came from the hotel entertainment, who last night insisted on following up all 13 minutes of Pink Floyd's "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" to an area of people who did not know that song, with Rammstein's "Du Hast." So that really set an interesting vibe for the evening.
That's an interesting back-to-back combo for sure.
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the essential, what is it, going to the cruise ship band, maybe a little bit out of touch with what is more known these days from even people in their mid-30s?
Yeah, it was certainly a design choice, shall we say. Anyway, on to the FRS stuff. Of course, I wasn't around last week, but I did catch the PC Division 2 race from Spa a week ago. Caught the VOD when I was sat by the pool, and a very entertaining VOD it was. All sorts of action in that one, and a win in the end for Zados, I believe, in the Red Bull, who pops himself up into second in the PC Division 2 Championship, and by doing so earns himself a permanent promotion to the division as well.
Yeah, and another driver making that leap up that you'll see that was leading the PC Division 3 Championship, Gali in the Alpine, has shown to be quite quick for that division and is a strong driver. So spent a lot of seasons against him in the Xbox division. So looking forward to seeing how they get on in PC Division 2, where I don't think the pace differential is massive between Divisions 2 and 3. I think it's more the consistency differential.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be very, very similar. A lot of the those that have sort of reserved and come up have done perfectly fine. But it also has been there's been two major themes, hasn't there? There's been, can you avoid the shambles, especially on the cold tyres at the start of the race? And there is also an element of the pit strategy. Generally speaking, the overcut has been stronger than the undercut because of that tyre warm-up.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a new wrinkle to the 2022 variant of the game. Typically in previous league seasons, we've seen the undercut be the much more preferred and stronger strategy option, but this season, the overcut has gone very well. Now, tire warm-up, you got to kind of tiptoe your way through turn one, obviously, but if you can stay ahead of a car in the tire warm-up, the entire S section that comes up next is basically free reign to go across the entire track because that's the racing line, and it forces you to weave and warm up the tires relatively quickly.
Someone's going to try and overtake and move somewhere in there this evening, aren't they? I can just smell it.
Yeah, we saw quite a bit of that in what was shambolic Division 4 racing yesterday, and they spent some time under safety car. I think it's also important to note that we've not had a patch since last week, so the drivers will still be driving with no formation lap, and we'll have slightly cold tires going into turn one. And it's important that drivers remember that there is no formation lap, because we did see in Div 4 yesterday, lights went out and a couple of drivers didn't move off the line.
That is not necessarily what you want to see.
No, and
we are not too far away, are we, from this one going? I think the lobby is sort of readying up. I would say so. Hopefully, we'll be underway soon.
Yep, pretty full. I think one or two stragglers are just sneaking their way in. I'm keeping an eye on the Div 2 chat just to see if anybody is missing. Looks like Flashy may not be joining us with wheel problems today, which is a bummer.
It looks like we might have as many as 19.
Yeah.
So a near enough full grid.
That's definitely a good full grid. Good to see, especially when the tail end of Season 2 or Division 2 last season really dropped off. But I think we will have just about a full grid, and I think just about everybody's in. So we should relatively shortly be heading into the start of this session. Now, I always get caught out, and you might have to remind me, does Division 2 do the practice session before the quali? I don't believe they do.
I don't think so.
Division 4 has caught me out now 3 out of 3 weeks, because every other division just goes straight into quali. So I would start the introduction sequence, usually timed to catch people just finishing up their outlaps in quali, and it gets done, and PC Division 4 is just finishing their outlaps of practice to get their setups loaded. But I think I'm looking at the lobby settings and it says P none, so I think we're okay.
Yes. P none, Q short, and R 28 laps. And that is a long race, 28 laps around here. I think we were chatting before and you were saying the 28 laps probably makes this one of the longer races of the season.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, in most divisions we've been seeing, obviously, pace dependent lap times under race conditions ranging anywhere from 137s in the quickest divisions to 140, 141s a lap in the slower divisions. And that's only, 5-6 seconds a lap slower than what we were seeing in Spa, which is usually, into the 150s. But that race was only 22 laps. So it does tend to run a little bit longer here. And safety car laps are not very fast under these conditions either.
I wouldn't imagine so. Now, and obviously long race, concentration required for even longer. And I think track limit penalties, we've just caught the end of the PlayStation race, and it seems like it was track limit penalties galore in that one.
Yes, Sector 1 especially, it's such a rhythm section. Obviously, Herman Tilke taking a lot of inspiration from the Maggots-Beckett's complex in Silverstone. But if you get 1 foot wrong and you run over track limits there and you're carrying too much speed, it's very easy you're out of position and run over the track limits in the very next corner until you can really get yourself sorted out. So definitely an opportunity for drivers to pick up, 2 track limits warnings right in a row, and all it takes is 3 for that 3-second time penalty.
That'll be one of the key things to watch this evening. I'm looking forward to this one. I think the Division 2 races have been really entertaining so far. Obviously, we've got Coral as the championship leader. Arguably, debatably, maybe definitely the class of the field so far. But he's not without his competition.
No, not at all. I would say, yeah, fairly comfortably, maybe by 2-3 tenths, the quickest driver on the grid. However, all it takes is a safety car. And that 2 or 3 tenths can also be eaten up a lap by being on the wrong strategy choices. So strategy is still going to be very important. Even though a lot of the races have been an easy one-stop, it's all about how you handle those unexpected safety cars and then making those tough calls when you're in overcut or undercut range of somebody to come in early and go long, or try and create an overtake. But it looks like they are about to get the lobby started, and I will leave the introduction coming in your capable hands, Mr. Herringdorf.
The final race on FRS Sunday is from PC Division 2, and it's round 3 here from Austin in the USA. The Circuit of the Americas plays host to this round, a track that's really quite favoured amongst the drivers, a challenging one with overtaking opportunities as well, and lots of elevation changes to keep things interesting. Winners in Austin have gone on to win the FRS Drivers' Championship only 4 times in 14 chances, so it's anyone's game here, really. And their drivers spending just 62% of the lap at full throttle, even with the long back straight. Turn 1 is the first action zone on this circuit. Very wide, the circuit on the entry to this one. Narrows up on the exit, so we can see drivers taking multiple different lines and then have to scrap it out on the outside before they head down the hill into the roller coaster. Turn 12, the other major overtaking opportunity at the end of the DRS straight. And then this sort of switches back on itself a few times in this section of the circuit. So drivers able to run side by side for a few corners. The soft tyre the fastest, but it remains to be seen whether it will last more than 5 minutes. The medium tyre possibly the optimum one today. And look at the driver standings here in PC Division 2. Sees Coral at the top with a win and a 4th place to his name. Dr. Zados in the Red Bull is just behind in 2nd place, and then it's very, very close between Cruzo, Milo, and Flashy, with Archduke Oregano just a few points back. Stark and Ark still in play as well. I think we're now ready to get underway with this qualifying session here in Austin. Perfectly synced up. And, well, I'm going to bring you back in, Quimblers. Who is your prediction for pole position today?
Pole position, it's hard to vote against Coral, but I think I'm going to go with a dark horse. I think Stark is going to pull out a lap today. I think Stark is going to find his way onto the top spot into pole position.
Well, there we go. He did it a week ago. He's got some qualifying pace when he wants to find it, has Stark. But it's not maybe always as consistent as he would like, but he does have an absolute banger of a lap in him. We'll see if he can produce something similar today. We have a few drivers already around the circuit on their quick laps. And alas, not everybody has got their name broadcast, which means that we aren't getting the maximum out of these phenomenal new graphics produced for us by Remon. We're currently looking at Ark, who is very often the first driver out on the circuit on a quick lap. Milo has gone quicker in the first sector, and of course the purple sectors actually do count for something as we look at them here with these graphics, because yeah, they are put together properly. So yeah, it's Milo with the early pace, but lots of drivers, in fact most of the field now, on their first flying laps as Ark comes down to turn 12 and the beginning of this switchback section.
Yep, and everybody on track except for my pole position pick, Stark, who is going to just prove me wrong by, I guess, not setting a lap at all in the early going. It looks like the Red Bull P15 of Dr. Zados has gone purple in the middle sector, so showing some very good pace. We're still working on the graphics, so we will have to kind of jump up to look at the timing tower as the drivers finish their laps. It looks like somehow Ark has managed to just about keep that lap valid. They've run a little bit wide on the exit of the penultimate corner, but it's going to set the early pace at 35.242. Milo going to be the next across the line and is going to improve 34.7. So a good solid lap, and Zados even faster still.
Well, that's a solid opening gambit from the current second place driver in the PC Division 2 standings, Dr. Zados in the Red Bull. And yeah, it's nice to see a competitive Red Bull car. I don't often, normally the Red Bull team in the division that I commentate on are kind of the shambles team. So it's nice to see them more competitive this time. Coral slams down a new marker, 33.8.
3 purple sectors, a tremendous run there, and that's, you know, good. What is that? 7, almost 9/10 quicker? Ruprecht, though, goes almost into the 33, so closes the gap a fair bit there.
Good time from Ruprecht as a reserve driver for Williams. I think both Williams drivers this evening are reserves. So yeah, that's competitive stuff from Ruprecht. Good lap in this early stage of the session. Coral clear by 0.3 of a second. We are watching the new to Division 2 Penichiro. He's dropped down from Division 1. Long-time Division 1 driver is Penichiro. But he's often been sort of in the just outside the points, maybe the back end of the points. Hopefully we can see him be very, very competitive here in PC Division 2. I think he deserves a shot up at the sharp end.
Yeah, Pinachero has not typically been, super quick in Div 1, but they've always shown relatively good consistency, and they've managed to scrounge some points through Div. It reminds me of VTech Panda for the first few seasons. Pinachero goes on a 35 flat, so a solid lap from there, but we're grabbing Archduke Oregano. Nope. Let's grab Brad Spitt, who's actually on a flying lap.
So we saw a Haas stopped on the circuit there. I think that, that looked like it was possibly Andrew Orthodox who's keeping out the way. It could have been Dog, on the other hand. Brad Spitt across the line and is the slowest of the cars who have set a representative time so far, about a second and a half off the pace. So would we expect to see sort of larger differences between the front and the back of the field here at this circuit? It's a challenging track.
Yeah, it's one of the more technical ones around, as it looks like Cruzo invalidates that lap by hopping over the curb just a little bit. Bananarama's about to finish a flying lap, and I'm definitely amused by what's going on in chat of things like, I hope player does well, or I like player, but not player so much. So, yeah. Reminder to drivers to turn on show player names when we get in, and we can make these graphics even more useful and awesome.
Make it a league rule. Yellow flag on the circuit. It's just Cruzo keeping out of the way. We are currently watching Project Stealth come out of the final corner in the Alpine. Alpine struggling for drivers in Division 2 this season. And this is the start, in fact, no, it's the finish of a quick lap. I must remember that the moment they cross the line, they disappear from the screen. So 36-1 for Project Stealth. Pops them up just behind Brad Spitt. And I don't think Andrew Orthodox or Bananarama have particularly set competitive times at this stage. So, yeah, there's a few drivers setting their stall out early. A few others maybe keeping their powder dry, and we'll hope to go much quicker later on. I think Cruzo's going again on this particular lap, and Stark has finally made his way out onto the circuit as well.
Yeah, we'll grab the onboard for Cruzo to see how they're managing their way around this lap.
So this is the final part of the first sector. Bit challenging that left-hander at the end. You don't want to pick up any track limits warnings on the entry or the exit there. Shift to the left and then hard on the brakes for the hairpin to bring you onto the DRS straight. You want to get the acceleration down as quickly as you possibly can here, because top speed on this straight is all important. DRS wide open, and we're going to keep ourselves to the right-hand side of the circuit as we head down towards the braking zone here for turn 12. Keep it to the left, and then we will swing over to the left once again for another slow right-hander this time. Turn 13. Turn 14 doesn't really count, and then 15 doesn't either. I think this is now 16. You lose count amongst this section of the circuit, and then we've got the quadruple apex inverse turn, and Cruzo loses the car as we come through turn 17, 18, 19, whatever they're classed as these days. So another one in the bin for the McLaren driver. Not to be this time, but we're now looking at Stark in the Mercedes, hoping to do what he did last week and stick it right up the front.
And if I can remember what my hotkeys are, I can actually bring you up the right graphics, which is bring the quality graphics back up on screen. I keep accidentally hitting the weather one because I don't mess with the hotkeys all that much, but
it's nice to know the weather. It's nice to know.
We'll take a look at the weather when there's a little less action on track, and we'll see what we've got. Austin does have chances for rain, and if only the game really modeled the amazing thunderstorms you get out there, because there are some awesome thunderstorms that happen in Austin. It was a fun time living out there for a few years and enjoying water falling from the sky.
We got plenty of that in the UK, do not worry, but it's not all that spectacular. Riso has gone up into P5. We're currently watching Stark, and yes, Stark has lost it. Just about keeps it out the barrier, but there's a few drivers struggling.
Yeah, it's a tricky circuit. I mean, everybody is well aware, especially in real life, of the bumpiness that you get here at Circuit of the Americas, but that is fairly representative in some of the braking and traction zones around this track, and you can really just get a little too much down with the right foot, and around you can go in these last couple of corners. Of course, You have a couple of hairpins that you have to accelerate out of, turn 1, turn 11, turn 12, that you got to find the traction on. As Gali improves by a good 0.4 of a second and moves up to P5. Zato's taking provisional pole away from Coral, goes to a 33.7, so a 1/10 of a second gained there. Coral, I believe, should be out on a fast lap somewhere, but we're going to see as Milo and Williams player, who has a purple first sector, although it appears a yellow second sector, so they've slowed down. That it would be Ruprath.
That's Ruprath, who's on the circuit at the moment. So the longer this Division 2 season goes on, the more impressed I'm starting to be with Dr. Zados. He's come into FRS. This is his first season. And he's mixing it with some very, very fast drivers. And that is a good time, that 33.7. But can Coral do anything about it? He's just coming through towards the last couple of corners now. This is track limits doom through here. Keeps it well inside the lines. Probably costing himself a little bit of time there, actually, Coral. Into the final corner and wants to get the power down across the line. And it's not quite good enough. It's within a 10. But it's Zados who has the advantage now as Dog has gone up into P3.
A good lap from Dog there, who we know is a relatively quick driver, but now the FRS career leader in DNFs is a dubious statistical category to be the top of. But so they're quick, but they tend to have problems from time to time. We'll jump on with Riemann here, who appears has improved in both the first two sectors, two green sectors, but catching some traffic through turns 16, 17, 18, that long triple right-hander that is another one of those Herman Tilke inspired buys where they take it from Turkey. That's a long, sweeping triple set of corners. But Riemann improves by a good 0.7 of a second, up to P6 inside the top 10 now. Penashiro crosses the line, goes up into 7th. We'll see who we can grab next. I believe there's Brad Spitt coming through the triple right-handers now.
That's a good time from Riemann as well as another reserve driver. Within half a second of Zados and Coral, or just outside of half a second, sorry, of Zados and Coral at the front. Brad Spitt into the final corner now. And we'll hope to improve on P13. And, well, technically does, P12. Though I think we might have hoped for a little more than that.
We'll grab everybody's favorite Scott, who is still yet to set a valid lap time and is going for their third lap now, going for one. So we'll see if Cruzo, coming down the back straight with the DRS open, looking for that breaking point into turn 12, can get it done. Turn 12, though, unique. It's a downhill braking zone. It is at the end of a very long DRS straight, and you'd think most times, long DRS straight, heavy braking zone, hairpin, job done, right? But no, the way that this next set of corners switches back and forth, it creates really good side-by-side racing.
Excited to see how that goes down in the race. Cruzo with his almost Daniel Ricciardo-inspired crash helmet here in the McLaren, really fitting in with that glaring livery, shall we say, on the McLaren car across the line, and it is a relatively representative time. P16, 1,000th of a second quicker than Project Stealth.
Yeah, and I don't want to try and grab too many Daniel Ricciardo parallels, since Cruzo did put up a podium last time. Rizzo is out of the session. It looks like
that's a very strange place.
Straight. Has he maybe had a mechanical issue of some kind? We'll try and find.
The car's sideways across the circuit on the back straight with a wheel missing.
Well, that seems like a mechanical problem. Yeah, he's into the wall, so maybe just a little too much right. It's a long way down from the exit of that corner, though, to be in the wall. Usually, you make that mistake and you're in the walls within the first couple meters. They've got a good, almost all the way. They're actually past the DRS activation zone with that one.
Everything about that is strange. So answers on a postcard for that one, please. Archduke Oregano or Archduke Oregano. We can fight over that one all evening if you like. Currently up by half a second on his own previous best. That at the moment is enough for maybe P7 ahead of his Aston Martin teammate Penachiro. Aston Martin need a little bit more from their two drivers if they're going to be right up at the sharp end here. It's still Zados with the outright pace. We've got a little over 3 minutes to go in this session, and there's a little bit of traffic here for Archduke. Comes in the final corner now. The traffic just about got out the way, and it's P7 as predicted. Yours truly.
Nailed on prediction there, and my pole pick Stark is still sitting down in P19, so we will see if they're going to find anything. We'll grab Gali, who's coming through the first sector now looks like the honestly the furthest along on a flying lap here, as drivers are just getting back to the flying lap status. So green in sector 1, a personal best, a little bit of an improvement there. And then, you know, turn 9 coming over the top of that hill, that last left-hander, it not only is it track limit zone, but it's got kind of a hump to it. It's where you famously saw Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari doing a great Lightning McQueen impersonation and sticking that one wheel up in the air. But that hump, you know, makes it very easy to get the rear of the car very light, and it's easy to lose the car there. We've seen a lot of mistakes in PC Div R, PC Div 4 in that spot.
So who else are we looking out for? Well, Stark's currently at the back. He's put a lot of pressure on himself here. He's going out for one more run here right at the end of the session, but he's not left himself a lot of time. If he gets this one wrong, Stark will be starting this race from the back. Maybe that's the plan. Who knows? But 8.4 seconds back is a long way to be. Garley is 2 personal best sectors. Don't know if it's going to be enough to challenge right at the front, but it'll hopefully, for his sake, move him further into the top 10. Garley across the line at P7.
That's a solid position to be in the mid-pack here, you know, because there's always shambles. Zados is on a flying lap a little further up ahead of Cruzo, but yellow in the first sector, so likely to maybe not improve. They did go green in the second. We'll just keep an eye on the timing tower as they get to around last corners, but Cruzo looking to really try and improve. Zados does improve.
So it feels like it's between Zados and Coral. We're currently looking at Coral's teammate Cruzo, who's backed out of this lap by the looks of things.
Well, he did a sweet 360 there through that triple right-hander, so that's definitely not going to help the timing tower. We'll jump on Lord Volk is the next kind of furthest around the lap on a flyer. We're still waiting for Stark has just started their lap. Coral is on an out lap. He looks to be just getting inside the line there. Lord Volk, though, green in the first sector. And their AlphaTauri teammate Arc is just a little bit further behind on the main straight.
Yeah, the AlphaTauri is a little bit off the pace. I think they'd like to be further up towards the front than this. Very much reminding me of the real AlphaTauri squad this evening, just kind of 14th and 15th. So Archduke Oregano is not going to go any further. He just retired from the session. Lord Volk's 2 green sectors, as has Arc just behind him. A little bit of traffic ahead of us here, but hopefully that won't do us too much harm. And we'll see whether these AlphaTauris can get up towards the top 10. Ramon's had a yellow and a green in the first 2 sectors. Here comes Lord Volk now out of the final corner. Bit of a slide from the back end there across the line. P8, that's a much better time. Improved by a second. Good lap there from Lord Volk. Arc goes up to P11. Stark is the driver we're watching. Coral is a little bit behind on the circuit. It's green for Coral, but it's not purple. Few drivers still to get round and see if it can improve their time. We're on board with Stark now, picking up Stark. And into the final corner. Surely going to improve on P19. P8 for the Mercedes driver. But Coral is the driver to watch now. He's up a little bit. He might not be up by enough. He needs a mighty final sector here. The championship leader throws it into the final corner. Can the McLaren take pole? Yes, he can. And it really was a mighty final sector. He found about 0.3 of a second. And Coral is on pole.
Brad Spitt with a massive final sector as well. He's up to P8. Pinashiro is going to be next across the line, it appears, coming out of the final corner. Are they going to find some track time? Yes, up into 7th there as Milo has bailed out of the lap. I was about to grab him next, but he's decided to call that one a day. And it looks like Andrew Orthodox, next one on a flying lap. Last one's really him and Bananarama to try and move their way further up the grid. This very full grid, so if you're towards the back, you're going to have a lot more work than you do in the midpoints of the season when there's only 14 people on the grid.
P7 for Andrew Orthodox. Good lap time there. Lots of drivers sort of getting into this lower end of the top 10 sort of range. And Bananarama improves to P17, which means it'll be Project Stealth starting at the back. Well, it was a hell of a duel between Coral and Zados, who were absolutely the class of the field there, but Coral comes out on top.
Yeah, and my pole position prediction was quite a ways down the field, P11, and unfortunately, strategic pole is no longer a thing.
Indeed, yes. So Coral on pole for McLaren from Dr. Zados in second place. Those two have got near enough half a second on Dog, who is third for Haas. Ruprath, very, very impressive, substituting for Williams and taking P4. Then Milo Remen, who's also impressive in the Red Bull. So great session for Red Bull there. Andrew Orthodox, Penichiro, Garley, and Brad Spate rounding out the top 10. Then outside of that, it's Stark, who'll be disappointed with P11. Lord Volk, Seung, Archduke Oregano in P14. Arc, Riso, Bananarama, Cruzo, and Project Stealth.
Definitely some work to do for Archduke Oregano, who, you know, was a championship challenger in race 1. Him and Coral were dueling it out for the race win. So, you know, the pace is somewhere in there. They've just got to try and make their way back through the field now.
Well, again, as far as I'm aware, still no formation lap. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, there's been no patch in the intervening week, so we are once again sending it down into turn 1 on relatively cold tires. Looks like somebody has indeed readied up, so the countdown timer started, and we'll get back into the game screen in just a moment when we start to get set up with the drivers on the grid. So, big uphill climb, a very wide entry with a very narrow exit, and cold tires. Surely this is going to go very, very well, as people definitely need to get sorted out for the S sections as well.
It's a recipe for disaster. I don't know if the entry might be less scary than the exit of this one, but we're about to find out, because here come the lights. It's lights out, and away we go here in PC Division 2. It's a fantastic start for Zados on the inside. Coral's bogged down, and Zados leads by a mile into turn 1. Contact there as Raymond sends it up the inside. Lots of cars wide. Raymond is round, but it looks like it's going to be Zados in the lead from Ruprath and Dog. Then Milo in 4th, Penichio up to 5th, and Coral from pole all the way down to 6th. I think that was Andrew Orthodox spinning, and there's a bit of contact at the back of the field as well.
Yeah, and there's some bouncing carbon fiber down the road. Coral has picked up a 5-second time penalty for gaining a position off the track. It may have just been a situation where they had to kind of bail out. They may that's a perfect opportunity for them to serve early in the race. I don't know if that'll get removed, but there's still some dicing going on a little further down the field. Cruzo up into 10th.
Zados has spun at the front. Zados has lost it all on his own at the front, and he's had... Oh, no, I think there's a collision with Ruprath in there. But now Ruprath leads, and we have a virtual safety car.
Well, we get to take a moment to breathe on this one. Unfortunately, with no formation lap, we don't get a chance to look at what the tire choice or strategies are, but this VSC will give us a quick moment. Ruprath only one to start on soft compound tires. Otherwise, it's pretty split between the mediums and hards, and the strategy is pretty even. So we'll see. Ruprath, really their only choice if it stays mostly green flag racing is to go soft onto the hard. Otherwise, you know, soft medium is just not a strategy you can make work around here.
If you notice what I said in PC Division 2 chat on the Discord before this race, I said qualifying does not matter. And after qualifying, I certainly thought this was going to be a duel directly between Coral and Zados. Within one lap, they're now 5th and 6th, and they both have a 5-second time penalty as Riemann comes into the pits in the second Red Bull. Drive-through penalty for Project Stealth for speeding under the VSC. We are green again, and as we come up towards turn 1, it's Dog who leads this race from Milo in the Mercedes.
Yeah, quite a few takers into the pit lane. I'm sure some of that bouncing carbon fiber was some damage, but Ruprath out of the lead of the race came into the pit lane. So Dog and Milo up there. Dog had an incredible start from the second row, launched his way all the way and kind of held the wide outside line to stay away from all the shambles. But, you know, Coral and Zados were looking to duel it out, and, well, they're still right side by side. They're just a little bit in the pack now.
So it's medium, hard, medium, hard, medium up at the front, and then a whole bunch of hard tyre runners. Lord Volk and Stark fighting it out here. Lord Volk on the inside, and looks like he's got that move done. So Stark not looking like he's got a whole lot of pace here, but he can still fight this one back as we come down towards turn 12.
Yeah, in the slipstream pulling out to the inside. Is he going to be late on the brakes? You kind of turn in nice and early for turn 12 when you're on the inside, but that gives the other outside car the opportunity to really carry momentum, and here's where you see the switchbacks available of this side-by-side kind of middle sector, and it looks like Lord Volk is going to go, but there's the switchback up on the inside. You can take that shorter line, and Stark has lunged it up to the inside of turn 14 and 15, and now Lord Volk fighting back. Be careful, guys. It's so easy to get wide on this one as the camber falls off on the outside. They're still side by side into the penultimate corner.
Oh, there's the contact. It felt inevitable, and that was a collision. Is that taking a car out of the race? I'm not sure if a car got damaged there. It's a blue car. It might be Seung, possibly.
Yeah, it looks like it's Seung, as Stark has been slapped with a drive-through penalty by the game for a severe collision, although I think they were facing the wrong way and didn't really have much of a choice. They were just in the firing line. But Dog has made a mistake in the first sector. Dog has gone from P1 to P4 and gotten swallowed up by this gap, now P5. So Dog made a mistake somewhere in the first sector.
I'm not sure that's true. I'm showing Dog in the lead of the race.
Oh no.
That can't be a good thing. But I'm showing Dog is in the lead of this race.
That is not encouraging, because I see Dog behind the Red Bull of Zados at the moment.
At the moment, I'm watching Penichero going to the inside of Milo for P2. That seems to match up with what I'm seeing, but Penichero takes that place. And, well, we don't know if he has the lead or not. Because as I see it, Dog still leads, but as you see it and the stream sees it, it's now Penichero in the lead of this race. So, who knows?
We'll make a mental note, lap 2 there. If we do end up with red flag conditions, that's where at least the first indications where there may be issues. But yeah, currently I'm showing Dog P5 about 2.6 seconds off the back of Zados and is falling off of this battle. But Coral and Zados still lying astern there. It looks like Zados has gotten a very good launch.
Right there. Fastest lap of the race from Dog.
And now
Dog hasn't crossed the line yet, and he's back in the lead as far as you see it. So
yes, and now he's back in 5th. So
the Dog is leading this race as I see it, and that fastest lap thing came up about the time where he should have crossed the line. So I think there's an issue here.
Yeah, I think that may be a spectator issue on my end then, because he may be getting he appears to be just under AI control on my screen only. So, do I dare, since you are in the lobby, toss it to a bit of a radio play, and I do a quick reset of my entry into the lobby to see if I can get it fixed.
I think that might be the best thing to do, yeah.
So, I will let you take over that. I'm going to give us just nice whole screens. Apologies to everybody watching. We are going to try and get this sorted as is humanly possible.
Well, it is Dog in the lead by 1.3 seconds from Penichero. Then Milo, Coral, and Zados are fighting, and fighting hard. We got a few yellow flags on the circuit. Project Stealth has been around. But obviously, with that fight between Lord Volk and Stark, there's now a huge gap between the top 5 and everybody else in the field. But it seems to be that Coral and Zados do have the pace on those ahead, it looks like. But they're just struggling to get through the traffic at this early stage. And obviously, they do have those 5-second penalties to serve as well. So Dog continues to lead. Penichero is now dropping this group. So Milo is struggling to hold on to the back of the Aston Martin. Penichero now sets the fastest lap of the race on a 38.5 as he sets after Dog. Milo has fallen out of DRS. And now Coral going to the outside and trying to go around the Mercedes into turn 1. Not quite coming off that time. But Milo under heavy pressure now from the McLaren of Coral. And Zados is right behind the pair as well. As we come through the S's, Coral makes a little bit of a mistake, and that drops him off the back of the Mercedes of Milo. So struggling in the dirty end. Now Zados is all over the back of Coral in the meantime. Dog leads the race by 1.7 seconds. And Milo is still outside of DRS range. We're coming onto the back straight now. Coral is in DRS. The DRS is now wide open. And hopefully we should have pictures back for you very soon, because Coral's about to throw this to the inside. Milo goes defensive. Coral now sends it into turn 12. And the McLaren looks like he's got the place, but Milo will fight this one back as they come into 13. Milo's now on the inside. Coral has to stick it out all the way around the outside. Now it'll be the same as Stark. Coral's going to send it to the inside of the left. Milo's still there on the outside, and now Zados is involved. It's very nearly 3 wide. Milo holds position, but Coral's going to try to go all the way around the outside, and he's managed to do it. Unbelievable move from Coral. Now it's the inside for the second to last corner. They're still there. And Milo's now back ahead as we pick up the pictures again. This is a stunning fight between these three.
Yeah, got the screen back up again, and Dog is showing you the lead, which is appropriate. Dr. Zados, though, got the run out of the final corner, and now Coral, though, going to sweep her on the outside, turns in. It's going to get very, very tight on the apex there, and Zados just manages to stay ahead.
I'm so sorry you all missed that. It was absolutely brilliant between all three of these drivers, and Coral loses out from looking like he was about to take P3. He's now back to P5.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have the pictures. You can thank Cody's. Luckily, it just appeared to be spectator side D word. Everything else seems to be just sorted by the way that the drivers were racing so close side by side through that whole section. So take a deep breath, because I think they're about to do it again. Here they come on the back straight. DRS going to flip open on the Red Bull and the McLaren. Milo in a bit of trouble now.
That's up the race from Seung. We're going to car off at the back is Project Stealth, but here comes the Red Bull. Thinks about it. Not that time. He bailed out with that one. He watched what happened a lap ago and decided that wasn't the right way to go, sending it down the inside of the Mercedes. Milo holds place, but he's now dropping really far back from Penichiro, who is beginning the edge up towards Dog. This is what we thought we might see from Penichiro in Division 2. He's just a little bit more competitive than we've seen from him in Division 1.
Yeah, and especially when you give Penichiro the clean air to work in. He's got decent clean air pace. It's just been, once he gets caught up in battles, he's been kind of gobbled up by the rest. But still, incredible scrap for for the final podium position. There's another car off through turn 8, it looks like, on the track map. Going slowly. I believe that might be either Project Stealth or Seung towards the back of this grid.
It's Project Stealth, who's been off like 3 times on this lap alone. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But look at Zados all over the back of Milo as we come sweeping through the S's once again. Milo is very much the cork in the bottle here. This Red Bull and McLaren behind him, they want to get after the leaders. But Milo is doing a solid job for Mercedes.
Yeah, an absolute cracker. They're going to be coming down towards turn 11 now. Coral has gotten a little bit of a run, has a little bit of a look to the inside, but not going to quite make the move now. It's all about trying to get that exit, and it looks like Zados has the exit that they need, although it looks like Milo deploying heavily on the straight. Are we seeing the Mercedes once again?
Look at Coral here. Coral is just sailing past. They both got DRS, but Coral is going to sail past Zados. As they come down into turn 12, Zados sticks it out around the outside, and here we go again.
Side by side, they go around the outside. So it's going to switch to the inside for Coral, who's going to try and get up the inside. Makes Zados take the widest line possible, just delays their turn in, and that is, I believe Zados was able to stay on track, but Coral just kind of using the elbows to take that position away, and we may be seeing also part of this. They're on different tires. Zados on the mediums, Coral's on the hards. Is this where we're starting to see that pace start to switch over between the tire lives?
I mean, we expect those medium tires to go as far as 15, 16 laps, right? So I'd be surprised if Zados was fully out of tires at this point of the race. That being said, I think he'll be less than pleased with Coral's defense on that one. He did kind of shove him wide. It was all just about within the rules, but we'll go again, no doubt, in a lap's time between these three. It's really great stuff.
Yeah, and of course we didn't have quite the best angle to see whether or not Zados was left enough space to stay in the track limits. I'm sure if there was a grievance to be held there, we will hear about that in the steward's room after. But it's hard to take your eyes away from this battle because, well, it's the closest on track, even though there is a fight developing between Bananarama, Stark, and Riso, and there are some penalties out there. I believe, though, those are all the 5 and 10
Andrew Orthodox
seconds.
is round. That's the yellow flag. We've lost Andrew Orthodox in the middle of the circuit at that left-hander. He's recovered now, but it looks like he's going to lose a position to Garley. Crusoe's up into the top 10. Meanwhile, the fight continues. Coral to the inside once again of Milo. Here we go again. Milo sticks it out and defends. This time it's hard tyre versus hard tyre, and Coral's going to go around the outside. A little bit of wheel banger, but Coral seems to have the place. Really, really good stuff between the pair. Coral now up into P3.
And now Coral's got to try and run away a little bit because it's going to be a few more corners before Milo or Zados can really attack Milo and try and make an overtake happen. This is the chance for Coral to clear that DRS when Zados, who seem to have the pace generally over Milo, should be able to work their way through. Crusoe, though, surprisingly, up into 10th place, so back into the point-scoring positions for the other McLaren.
Here comes Zados. He's got DRS. Milo has DRS to defend here, so I don't think we'll see a move up the hill into turn 1. But Mercedes versus Red Bull, little bit of contact there, was there, between the front end of Zados and the rear end of Milo. Milo possibly slower off the corner than the Red Bull expected. Hopefully there's no wing damage there. Looks to be right up behind him during the S's, so no concerns there. Meanwhile, Stark has cleared.
Oh, but he's run very wide.
And Riso.
And that's going to open the door back up for Bananarama to come up the inside of the final corner. Now, who got the DRS? And it is Bananarama who got the DRS at the detection point. So look at that straight line speed. Stark having to defend to the inside as Riso also had DRS, goes around the outside. Stark defending. This is a great angle of the front wing. Oh, and Bananarama's around Stark. I don't know how he didn't make contact. Somehow he managed to keep from hitting, and Stark somehow dodged that spinner.
Well, it's all happening. I was going to say look at this fight. Look as well at the sky. It is clouding over here at Kota.
Now I'll hit the right button, which is the weather button, and we can take a look. Clouds are coming in. 10 to 15 minutes, we are having chance of light to heavy rain.
We're currently watching Crusoe versus Riprath, both on the hard tyres. The Williams is on the inside and looks to have that move done. Crusoe has some wing damage there. He's missing an end plate.
Yeah, and now does he stick it out on these hard tires and hope to get all the way to the rain? I mean, they should have the life. 15 minutes is going to be what? Probably about 8 or 9 laps at race conditions. Maybe less than that, actually. Probably closer to 7, if I can do math correctly, which is debatable day to day.
It's difficult on stream, I'll guarantee you that. We're back to the Milo and Zados fight, which is still technically the Coral fight as well. But you feel like Coral has these two at arm's length a little bit now. And it's beginning to try and edge back towards Penichiro. But it's still Dog up at the front who is commanding this race with about a 3-second lead.
Yeah, Dog definitely out at the front. Definitely was not suddenly somehow P5 on my screen. And we definitely didn't have to go to a radio play to fix that. But we'll grab and we'll actually watch on board from Zados. See how he gets out of the final corner here. We'll turn 11. It looks like Milo just gets the traction down out of that corner very well. It gives him a chance to defend. It was almost 4/10 on the under braking, but up to almost 6/10 by the time they put the power down.
Yeah, so more frustration for Zados. Now Milo will be fairly satisfied here because he knows that Coral and Zados have got no option but to serve those 5-second penalties when they come in for their mandatory pit stop. So that will it'll give Milo track position on the pair. Lord Volk is outside of that window, but only just. So Lord Volk could be in play, although I don't think he has the pace to actually maintain a fight against Zados and Coral. But it must be said, Lord Volk having a very, very strong showing in P6. Meanwhile, Riso, Stark, and Archduke Oregano are fighting out down the back straight. Stark to the outside of the Ferrari, and he's going to sweep all the way through. Great move there from the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, he's tried to go up the inside before, and this time, if you can get the other car to dive to the inside of turn 12 early, you can really carry a lot of speed around the outside. And now Stark has got to make up some time because they're going to be forced to serve those penalties that they picked up, whether they're just fine. Oh, Riso's around. Riso's had a spin. If I can actually hit the right button, I can grab him. And that is just the rear tire there. That he just a little too much loading in this triple right-hander. If you get that surface temperature, it flashes up and the grip just disappears.
Now, something to note, I think Penichiro's either made a mistake somewhere or Coral's had an absolutely banzai lap, because it's now Coral within 3/10 of P2 here as they come down the back straight, moves to the inside of the McLaren, and Coral is going to go through.
I think Coral.
Are those medium tires now running out of life?
I think they're starting to lose some percentage now. They'll go a little bit longer, but they won't. Their best days are certainly behind them. I don't think that Penichiro made a mistake. I think Coral had an absolute cracker of a lap because the gap to Dog was still about 2.5 seconds by the time Coral caught. So I think Coral, and you can see the rear light flashing on that, I think he may have just dumped all of his battery to close that gap rapidly. I mean, Pinocchio and Milo is still not far off of this fight either. They're still within now a second of Pinocchio.
I think we're now at the switchover point where the hard tyre is the better one to be on. Both Dog and Pinocchio beginning to struggle on that tyre. Car off at the back, I think, is Seung. We've got a few yellow flags out on the circuit today. But Coral pretty much has the pace on everybody at this stage of the race. Zados is right behind Milo. And we're currently looking at Ruprath in P10. But the fight at the front continues to be a stellar one today.
Yeah, most definitely. You were on Ruprath for a second because I was trying to pick up which blue car was the spinner to see if we could find it, and I guessed wrong. Because every car has a blue dot, and you don't know which quite blue dot it is, and sometimes it's a little bit of a crapshoot. But this fight for the podium positions has gotten... Coral has reeled in on Dog, though. I mean, he's made almost 0.6 of a second in this last lap. Of course, Dog on those medium tires, life is starting to come out of those, and those on the medium tire, they've got to start thinking about coming in. I don't know if they're going to make it to the rain. Now, do we see somebody jump onto the soft tire for a couple of laps and bank that the rain is going to come quickly?
Zados was a little late on the brakes there. He nearly ran out the back of Milo, but it seems to be that Pinocchio is moving backwards through this fight now. Although Zados, also on the medium tire, doesn't seem to be dropping away, so it definitely seems to be Dog and Pinocchio who are struggling the most of the front five. Maybe they took too much out of the tires in that early stage of the race.
Yeah, and it could be setup dependent as well, depending on your wing levels, depending on your suspension settings. Eats the tires up just a little bit more here and there, but Zato's showing that they definitely belong at this pace. Are driving excellently. Of course, picked up a race win last time out, so they've earned a definite spot here. But this battle for now P3 is Coral is starting to stretch their legs away from Pinocchio. They've just cleared that DRS zone, but Milo seems to have a little bit more grip on his hard tires than Pinocchio's mediums. Zados, though, sticking right with that group.
So, of course, we know that Coral and Zados of this leading group both have to serve that 5-second penalty. On the subject of penalties, not a single track limits penalty so far, and we are almost halfway into this race. I guarantee you within the next 30 seconds, we'll see the first one, now that I've said that.
I was going to say, there's no better way to make something happen than to say it isn't happening. Just like I'm going to avoid and then actually now say we've only had the one virtual safety car in this race. Otherwise, it's been relatively clean running. But there's battles within a second up and down the field. As soon as we get to the end of this back straight, we're going to jump to Gali and see as they're going to start making a move. It doesn't look like Milo's going to have a chance to move, but here's another car in DRS range, and even 2 positions back. Ruprath is going to try and make a move on Andrew Orthodox. So there's fighting up and down the field. Gali with the overspeed down into turn 12. Makes it stick. Has kind of jumped the curb a bit there, and they're just kind of blocking off, taking the racing line. But that was almost certainly going to be a track limits warning, so they aren't quite yet at their 3.
Yeah, I think Brad Spitz tends to be the sort of driver who will just let that go a little bit. We're currently watching the fight between Ruprath and Andrew Orthodox, and it looks like the Williams has come out on top of that one. There's another fight just behind this between the damaged Cruzo and Riemann, who hasn't managed to get past him yet. And then I think Stark and Archduke Oregano are sort of dueling away as well. Up at the top of the hill at turn 1, the fight continues between Pinocchio, Milo, and Zados. Who's going to blink first on the pit stop phase?
Yeah, because we're definitely going to start getting almost into puncture territory for those medium tire runners, but you think it speaks to the quality of the racing up and down the field here that we essentially sat on turn 12, 13, 14 for 5 battles all in a row as they arrived side by side by side.
Look how close Milo is to the back of that Aston Martin. This is looking like a slam dunk. If he's got any battery, he's going to sail past the Aston Martin here. And look at that. Milo moves up into 3rd place for Mercedes. Will Zados manage to find a way through as well? Pinocchio really struggling now.
Yeah, it looks like Zados not quite able to make the move, getting caught up behind, and this is, the chance for Milo to do what Coral did initially and run away while there's a slower car kind of in between the two. So he's going to try.
Up at the front. Oh, Dogs had a moment there. And Coral is right on his tail.
Yeah, this is going to get very interesting now. Dog has got some more worn tires, so he's going to be a little earlier on the brakes. The sky is getting very dark at this station. Look at how much extra braking power Coral has into that final corner. And there's the Penishiro's into the pit lane, so Penishiro has blinked first, but Coral, look at that overspeed into turn one, just going to absolutely sail by. And I was hoping that the offboard shot would be an offboard shot and not a wing shot, but we'll live with what we've got.
Coral takes the lead. Penishiro goes to the soft tire. Now that is a really interesting call. That means we're almost certain that rain's going to come, and he feels like he just needs one more dry tire to get him to the rain.
Well, the weather indication is showing in 5 minutes, 89% chance of rain, 10 minutes, 89, and it looks like it may even convert to hard, heavy rain before the rain goes away in this one. We're just beyond the halfway mark of the race, and we will see what kind of lap times that Penishiro is going to put in. Now, it may be a case here that you're expecting essentially the rain to almost go to the end of the race. Penishiro putting on the soft tires is in a good spot. If he can set a fastest lap now, secure the point, because nobody's going to improve in the wet conditions.
Well, it's also a point, if it only mildly rains, and then a fresh set of soft is the right tire to be on. We've got Andrew Orthodox off the circuit, and that is actually a safety car. A safety car has been deployed. It's a front wing loss for Andrew Orthodox, but we now have a full safety car. Now what do we do?
Why did I have to mention the virtual safety car? Because apparently, suddenly, I jinxed it, and now we have a full safety car. So we'll keep our eyes on the lead pack here, because what are they going to do? Coral staying out, and of course,
Dog's going to box.
Of course, 5 minutes,
is Zados.
5 minutes till the rain. Is Coral trying to stay out for a lap? Maybe the rain arrives and then they box for inters under safety car conditions when everybody else has to make another stop. But let's get the tire graphic up so we will see what Dog and Zados and even Lord Volk is one of the hard tire runners to blink. So hard tires on Dog, hard tires on Zados. Lord Volk surely has to go to the mediums.
Lord Volk has gone to...
Or even the softs.
The hard...
Inters.
No, the inters. It's
Lord
raining.
Volk on to the inters. Yes. Okay,
it is raining now.
We are seeing it. Yep, we are seeing the streaks on the Halo, and
Volk Penachiro is into the pit and goes to the intermediate tire. So have Dog and Zados, who just went to the hard tire, have they blown it here? Is this intermediate call, like we saw in Spa last week, going to be inspired?
It's gonna be an interesting one. I think under Delta conditions, Coral is gonna have enough space to come out ahead, as Riemann's on the full wets, Cruzo on inters, Archduke on inters, Stark on inters. So everybody else that's coming into the pits now is grabbing some kind of damp.
Yeah.
No, Andrew Orthodox has grabbed softs.
Well, that's bold. We saw that last week as well, didn't we? I think the full wet is too far, but like. I know we talked about Dog having the DNF record in FRS, but how unlucky can you get? It literally started raining the moment he left his pit box. Yeah,
that's just... There's no luck to be had there. Now, on the plus side, everybody else is making a pit stop under it. Well, scratch that. The leader has been picked up, so they're no longer driving to a Delta. The field is going to catch back up at their own pace now. They can push a little harder.
There was 4 cars that didn't stop. That's Coral, Milo, Garley, and Brad Spit were the 4 who didn't stop. Now, are they screwed anyway? No, they could still pit and get out ahead of quite a few cars now. But all these guys have got to pit.
Yeah, I think the hard tire runners are going to come out behind Coral's weight, leaving it very
Coral
late.
boxes.
Coral spun it in the pit entry.
Well, Dog stays out. So Coral spins in the pit entry.
That's a bold choice.
Remember, Coral has to serve his penalty now as well, 5 seconds. So it's Dog in the lead on hard tires.
Or no, Zados has already served his 5 because he's made the change once. He's now coming in again.
So Coral's engineer is telling him it's sunny with no rain.
Penishiro picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car.
Right, so just to pick up where we're at now, Dog leads on hard tyres. Lord Volk is second on the intermediates. Milo is out in third. on the intermediate tyre. Gali is 4th. Penachiro is now 5th, but with a drive-through. So Zados and Coral have swapped around and are somehow going to be 5th and 6th again after all shakes out here. But now, Dog, this is either inspired. He's either going to be first or last.
Yeah, and the weather report seems to indicate heavier rain coming. So I think cold, hard tires on a wet track is going to be bad. Andrew Orthodox has come in again to get rid of those soft tires. He may have been jeffed, but there is actually, you can see it from the onboard, there's starting to be some puddling forming. So the rain is definitely not getting lighter. It is continuing to come down and soak this track even further.
Gunther Steiner's, well, he'll have some choice phrases, I imagine, to describe this one, because it's a Haas in the lead, but the Haas, I think almost certainly is on the wrong tyres here.
I don't think you need even the qualifier of almost. And Andrew Orthodox has picked up the first of the track limit penalties while under safety car conditions. So,
well,
we've
I mean,
definitely
yeah,
got
that's a frustrating one as well. So it means that Dog is going to have to pit and drop probably behind Stark. It depends how quickly Riemann, Crusoe and Ark get up to the back of this fight. But it does mean that Lord Volk is now the de facto leader of this race because he was the first to gamble to the intermediate tyres.
Yep. And Gali, who's making their Division 2 run after their promotion, right up there in a net podium position as, God, the track is just getting wetter and wetter. The more we sit on board, the more these guys trundle around, the wetter. Is it going to get heavy enough that Riemann is going to be in a good spot?
Dog has to box now. He has to box that car. Surely he's in the wall and he's out of the race. One more DNF to add to the tally.
I'm sorry to laugh, but you can't write it up. Why the aggressive turn? You're not faking anybody out. Commit to the pit lane entry early. Everybody else has already made the stop. Everybody knows you're coming in. There's no reason to dive in late. And he just put it straight into the wall.
There are just no words sometimes. There are just no words. Lord Volk leads the race from Milo, Gali, Zados, and Coral. It looks like the intermediate tyres is the right place to be. The hard tyres were not.
That is a statistical milestone as Dog becomes the first driver to achieve their 20th DNF in FRS history.
I have seen a lot in the 4 seasons I've been commentating in the FRS. And I mean, that moment, I'm afraid, for Dog, I feel so sorry for him. He's driven brilliantly today. And he's just got it wrong on the strategy, basically. But that was right up there.
It was, it's a head-scratcher, to say the least. I mean, he was weaving. Why put temperature into tires you're going to take off? Why take the risk of weaving on a wet track on a cold, hard tires? He needed to drive
shades of
like a puppy into that pit lane entry.
Shades of Hamilton, China 2007, right? Just safety car in this lap, by the way. We're about to go motor racing again. And we've got a few cars cut adrift. I think Riso and Bananarama will just about catch the pack and may actually have very, very warm tyres by the time they do so, compared to everybody else. So it's Lord Volk, who's been running on his own in P6 for much of this race. He's slowing the pack up a lot here. There's a few maybe running into each other there. Lord Volk from Milo, the British pair at the front. Gali, Zados, and Coral also in play here. And we await the Alpha Tauri, who I said was struggling in qualifying. Well, they've got a golden opportunity here. It'll be 10 laps to go when we come across the line.
We'll wait to see when they go. We've got the throttle traces up on screen, so it'll be a little harder to tell as drivers can't really pin the throttle to go in the wet conditions, but they've certainly waited.
He's gone now. We're green again. Lord Volk leads them away, and he's got the jump on Milo as they come across the line. Lord Volk leads this one as we come onto lap 19. Milo, Gali, Zados, and Coral up the hill, locking like they are line astern. And then in the backfield, we have got Archie Garagano up the inside of Ruprath. Is there going to be contact there? Not quite. Just about get away with it. And then we come down the hill and we got to go through the S's in the wet for the first time at racing speed.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on Riemann, how they do as the only driver on the wet tires. But Coral is very close to Zados, as once again, they've been side by side this entire race, and here we are battling for 4th and 5th now. So they've fought for 1st and 2nd. And
I think Zados went wide there, and Coral has a chance to dive up the inside, maybe. Not quite close enough. Ruprath got some good pace and is diving to the inside of Brad Spitt as we come into the hairpin. So Ruprath has got through just behind this fight, but Brad Spitt's going to fight that one back as we come down the straight. Lord Volk has actually had a very good opening lap here and has almost a second on Milo. Not that the DRS is a thing that matters. Keep an eye on Archduke Oregano here coming past Brad Spitt as well into the braking zone.
Yeah, and Riemann's falling off the back of Cruzo on those wet tires as there's just about enough nose alongside Archduke Oregano trying to go the long way around the outside. Just doesn't quite have the space. Is he going to try and dive up the inside? It just gets about the car slowed down. It looked like there was going to be nose-to-tail contact there for a split second. But I think we've all mostly survived this restart.
We have, and now for those up the front, it's a different game all of a sudden. This is now about... So there's a car spinning around. That's Riso, who's had a difficult day.
And that was quite the catch. That was nearly them into the inside wall with damage, but they managed to catch the slide. They lost the positions, but most importantly, the front wing's still attached.
What I was about to say is penalties become important now. None of the top 8 have a penalty against their name. Anyone who picks up a penalty could find themselves losing out here. You've got to, in these very difficult conditions, you've got to keep it within the lines. Yeah,
Riemann is fighting with Pinachero quite a bit now. I think this is what Stark with the 3-second time penalty. So Stark now has that track limits penalty. Is I think Pinachero wants to get by Riemann. Oh, Riemann's wide. Pinachero should be able to sneak it up the inside. Nope. Riemann fighting it back. Side by side. Elbows out.
Arcs involved. Up the inside comes Andrew Orthodox as well with 2x2 as we come through the end of Sector 1. And we're going to scrap it out all the way down towards the hairpin. Riemann on the wet tyres really struggling.
Yeah, cork in the bottle definitely is. He's deep on the brakes. I think that's opened the door just enough for Pinachero to sneak through, but I think Riemann might be a little quicker in a straight line. And now he's going to have the slipstream. That's absolutely the camera angle I wanted to see with a car directly behind. It looks like Brad Spitt and Archduke Oregano are fighting out, but this battle has the other AlphaTauri of Arc now going up the inside of Riemann and is going to take that position away, and Andrew Orthodox starting to snake their way back up.
Keep an eye up the front as well. Garley's beginning to struggle. He's got Zados, Coral, and Ruprath in play there in that fight. But Lord Volk at the front is almost 2 seconds clear of the field. He's come alive in the wet conditions.
Yeah, we'll grab that front running pack. His Coral.
Oh, his Coral and Zados.
Zados so hard.
These two will not leave each other alone today. And Coral's round the outside and looks like he has that move done and dusted perhaps. But Zados is close enough to be able to fight him up the hill as we begin lap 21.
That is so close between those two, as it looks like Pinachero's into the pit lane. Did Pinachero?
He had the drive through. Yeah, he had the drive through to serve, didn't he?
That's correct. And yeah, it's been about 3 laps since the restart, so yeah, he had to serve that, and his dot has not stopped in the pit lane. He's going to trundle straight on through. So unfortunate that he picked that one up. But yeah, Lord
off the circuit is Coral. Coral's off the circuit.
He looks to have kept it out of the wall. We'll see if we can get a good camera. That looks like the wing is still attached. The end plates are all on there. But that is going to let Gali breathe a sigh of relief as Zados and Coral were really starting to chase him down. And I'm not sure how they ended up off the track there. As you can see the other McLaren Cruiser getting a little sideways, putting the power down.
I think it was just a snap of oversteer and he ended up losing the car onto the grassy area. It's all kicking off in the midfield. Up at the front, Lord Volk at the moment is driving away with this one. Stark to the inside of Brad Spitt. Thinks better of it. Brad Spitt leaves plenty of room. This is happening just behind the car we're looking at now, which is Coral. Here it is. So, yeah, Brad Spitt holding on to that one, but Stark's going to keep fighting him through this switchback second. He's going to go for that early dive, which we saw from him earlier in the race, but Brad Spitt sticks it around the outside and looks to be the better line in the wet conditions, you have to say. It's so difficult to get the power down. The rain is really coming down here keep an eye on Riemann on the wet tyres. Is that going to prove to be the right call after all?
Yeah, they've dropped several positions. I think they were P11 at the restart, now down to 14th. As
Stark's going to box.
Stark is going to come in. Now, they are carrying quite a bit of penalties. And I believe that...
Oh, Riemann's off.
Yeah, Riemann's had a spin through that fast right-hander, and it's going to cycle right to the back as Pinachero sweeps around. There's some...
So the only driver on the wet tyres, as Stark moves to the wet tyre, the only driver on the wet tyres just dropped it. But look at the gap at the front. Now 3.1 seconds, Lord Volk is just driving away from everyone.
He's driving a fantastic race out at the front. You know, made that gamble onto the Inter tires first. As Ruprath now getting involved with Zados came from essentially nowhere. We weren't really even tracking him most of this race, and here he is taking P4 away.
So the top two in the championship, Zados and Coral, are now starting to get eaten up by the midfield. All of a sudden, Archduke Oregano, who's been nowhere in this race, is looking at a top 5, top 4. Ruprath all the way to the inside there on defense. That was an extreme move.
Yeah, Zados trying to come back, and Ruprath, you can barely see him in the camera shot as he's all the way to the inside. Now moves close to the racing line. Zados carrying the momentum around the outside, but that line will be chopped off by Ruprath there as Archduke Oregano now going to get involved. Has Zados picked up damage of some kind? Because they seem to have suddenly been this last couple of laps off the pace.
I guess we don't know how long these intermediate tyres are lasting, particularly. I don't know how many laps will they do. Do we have any information on that?
I honestly don't know. I have not done any testing on the Inter tires. I like to believe the rain is never going to come and just hope and pray that it doesn't.
Lodvok leads as we begin lap 23 by 3.4 seconds, and that's important, that gap, because it gives him a breathing opportunity against the track limits penalty.
Exactly. And Gali starting to sneak their way up to the Mercedes of Milo, looking to take a P2 finish in this one. We are just 5 laps now from the end, as even with that safety car, this race has relatively flown by. There's been so much action.
I think those on the wet tyres are not particularly showing enough speed to make that the way to go. So it looks like it's going to be a no score for Stark. Cruzo is coming into play a little bit in the second McLaren now that he's got that wing fixed.
Now, the weather that I'm just pulling up now, it does appear that it's going to be heavy rain for the rest of the race. So if it does get to a point where other drivers have to box, then Stark, is already making ground on the intermediate tires ahead of him. He caught Riemann past him and is now starting to close up by several tenths in a sector onto Pinachero. So we will see if this rain continues to come down hard. We may have drivers having to come in for the full wets for the remaining 3-4 laps.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be an interesting one. I think the one thing that Lord Volk at the front would want is just the status quo, please, because this is working very, very nicely for the AlphaTauri driver.
And we'll jump from one McLaren to the other as Cruzo's starting to fall off the back of Brad Spitt there, up to Coral, repositioning to attack onto Archduke Oregano again and try and catch up to the championship challenger of Zados.
So at the back, Stark is catching Pinachero, but I think Pinachero might be stuck behind Seung.
Stark has already
Stark has actually got past, yeah.
No.
In fact, there's all sorts of action happening here at the back end of the circuit. They're 2-3 wide.
Milo's into the pit lane. Milo has come into the pit lane.
Yeah, Milo's going to go to full wets. So that's both Mercedes have now made this call. That's going to drop Milo out of the points by the time. But is that going to be an inspired decision? If everybody else has to box, then Milo will have the advantage here.
Well, Mercedes team principal, what do you think of this one?
I don't know. I don't know. They've got more the numbers than I've got. Seung gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We're seeing a few more coming in for the wet tyres now. It's a big call, isn't it? It's a big call. Ruprath seems to have lots of pace on the Inters.
I'm going to try and grab Stark at the moment to see. Seung is out. They've retired in the pit lane, so they've had enough today. I didn't get a chance to see what Stark's last lap time was. I was hoping to grab that as he crossed the line, but...
Oh, spinner! Zados! Zados is round!
Is that the indication that the track is getting too wet to handle, or was that just a driver error? It's hard to check. I mean, there's only 4 laps left to go in this race, so it's getting close to where drivers just have to kind of make the decision: are we going to suffer the rest of the way?
Look at Cruzo. Cruzo on his teammate. He's just got past Brad Pitt, and he's now sending it on Coral. Cruzo's got so much confidence in these conditions
now. And he's made contact. Coral has turned in and made contact, and that's forced his own teammate out wide. Now, so the gap I'm looking at, I'm bringing up the leader gap to see. Milo's 23 seconds off the race lead at the moment. Are they starting to close in, or is it going to be a situation where Lord Volk...
They're all struggling so badly at the front. Zados is going to pit.
Yeah, as is Andrew. It looks like Andrew Orthodox may be coming in as well. No, Milo has just made the move on track. So 22.9 the gap as Andrew Orthodox takes the short line. So there are more people coming in for those wet tires. Milo now up to 8th.
Yeah, Milo's cleared Zados. What I would say is I think Brad Spitt's out. Brad Spitt is out of the race. And it is a safety car.
A full safety
it's
car.
It's a full safety car.
Safety car. Lord Volk is going to certainly come in for those full wets. If we check the weather, we've still got 10 minutes of heavy rain coming in expected before it starts to lighten up.
I was literally just about to say, if everyone else boxes, I think Lord Volk has actually got enough in pocket to maybe try and crawl around on the inters. But this changes everything. We now have to box for the wets. He should have enough of a gap under the safety car to be able to pit and come out ahead of everybody. This really benefits actually Cruzo, who he'll be behind Milo, but he'll certainly nip out ahead of Zados. Oregano in 4th. Ruprath will be 3rd once this all shakes out.
Yeah, and that is just bad news for the Mercedes team, who appear to have made the right decision, because it looked like everybody was just toast. They were going to have to make a stop for those full wets before the end, and then a safety car.
Oh, no, Volk! Oh, Volk has nearly dropped it into the barrier. He just kept it out of the wall.
Incredible.
Yeah, my heart was in my mouth there.
And
have you missed me, everyone, while I've been on holiday?
Absolutely. Lord Volk is
not
boxing.
Out.
Lord Volk is staying out. Now, it's the game will pretty much always have at least 2 green flag laps to the end. So regardless of whether the field is bunched up or not, there will be at most, I think, 1 more safety car lap.
But all the rest of the front, Garley's staying out, Ruprath's staying out. These guys all believe in the intermediate tyre. Coral has boxed. But Cruzo has a penalty of 3 seconds against his name now. That doesn't help him. But the top 5 all believe in the old intermediate tyre here against the fresh wet. Oh, I don't know. This could get very, very spicy in the final 2 laps. Very, very spicy.
Yeah, as we were watching the times, we pulled up Milo's time on the wets to the leader, and it was, about 23.5 seconds. In that lap, he only gained about 1 second being on the full wets compared to the old inters. Now, the rain has continued to come down, and of course, it's not getting any drier. Are we going to see a significant just bottleneck through the S's as the intermediate runners just kind of try and hold on in the wet tire? Look, it's making sliding corrections under safety car speeds. I think those intermediates are going to be quite the handful.
Throughout all that we've seen, Coral and Zados, the top 2 in the championship, remain 1 position apart.
It's incredible. I think they've now fought for all of the top 8 positions. They were battling side by side for 1 and 2, for 3 and 4, for 5 and 6, and now for 7 and 8.
It's crazy. They've been safety car in this lap. Well, a lot of the field might not catch up here. Look back to Zados, who, by the way, has got Stark behind him. These guys aren't going to catch the pack before we get green again here.
No, it depends on how slow Lord Volk takes it, because they have no delta to stick to get back up to the pack now, so they may have an opportunity to arrive on the tail of the train with some hot tires. Coral definitely, because he's just coming through and is almost caught up the pack at this stage. So
this is anyone's game. Put all these names in a hat, stick your hand in, pick one out. We have got no idea who is going to win this in 2 laps time here in PC Division 2. Lord Volk drove so well in the wet conditions before, had built an almost unassailable lead, but now has to defend from those behind who are smelling blood. As we come on to lap 27, Lord Volk is going to put the hammer down, and we are green again here at Kota. Lord Volk leads for AlphaTauri. Can we get it stopped up the hill into turn 1? In the background, it's all happening between Ruprath, Oregano, Cruzo, and Milo. Remember, Milo and Coral on the wet tyres.
Oh,
contact between Cruzo.
Oh, Cruzo's hit by Coral. Cruzo's spun around.
Cruzo's the wrong way, but he's going to actually retain position. Those behind were so far back. Lord Volk is doing okay.
Oh, wide. Ruprath is wide. Archduke sticks up the inside sideways. No, they've made contact.
Oh, there's huge contact. They're all over the place. Ruprath is in the wall. There was a reset to circuit there in there. We've got yellow flags everywhere. We can't have a safety car now.
It's going to be
who knows what's going to happen
the rest of the way, as look at coming over the top of the hill, just a pile of cars just about getting it sorted out. And after there was contact between Coral and Cruzo, where Coral came off worse in turn 14.
Look at the grip of the wet tyres. Milo has just driven straight past Oregano. Coral's going to do the same, but can they catch Lord Volk and Garley, who have nicked off at the front? Meanwhile, I mean, the fight from P6 downwards is all over the place further back down this straight.
Yeah, as Stark is on the gearbox of Cruzo trying to attack Ruprath. We've got multiple. Look at it. They fan out. Stark diving up the inside, almost making it 3 wide into turn 12. Ruprath has gone very deep. Stark it looks like he's kept the inside and managed to sweep around all of them.
Ruprath has wing damage. We've got up at the front, Garley's now being swallowed up by Milo and Coral. Lord Volk's ahead by 2.7 seconds. Car off the circuit. I'm not sure who that is. The yellow flag somewhere. Milo's going past Garley up at the front.
As is Coral.
And Coral's coming with him.
There's just no grip on the inters. It's 3 seconds. 3.3 seconds the gap to Lord Volk with going to be 1 lap left to go. This is starting the final lap.
1 lap for Lord Volk to hang on in the AlphaTauri. Milo is coming. Coral is coming with him as well.
Milo has eaten 0.4 of a second just on the front straight.
Early Lord Volk's not going to be able to hang on. Cruzo's off at the back. It has all gone wrong for the McLaren. The Inters were not the way to go. The intermediate runners have just fallen like a stone through the field here. It's 2.1 seconds. There's so many corners for Lord Volk to deal with right now.
Through the S's, it's been about a 0.5 second lost for Lord Volk. Now the question is Coral going to sneak their way past Milo for what could be the race win? Or is it going to... This might turn into 3 wide into the last 2 corners for the race win.
The best thing for Lord Volk here is for these two to start fighting over who gets to catch him first. 1.6.
Does Coral get the drive? Milo's had drive out of the slow corners all day, as Zados is gobbled up. Archduke Oregano will keep an eye out. I think Stark is going to just
We've got to watch the front. It's less than a second.
Just want to take a quick look because they were breaking down in, but now it is less than a second. I think we're going to have 3 cars in the final 2 quarters just going side by side. Lord Volk already defensive.
He's defending to the inside. He's not got the traction. Coral's in there as well. Is there anything Lord Volk can do to hold off Milo? Milo goes to the outside. Now Coral's coming up ahead of the Mercedes. Coral is there, but Lord Volk is still at the front. Who is going to come out on top? We've got barely any corners to go. Lord Volk still leads. Coral's on the outside of Milo. Lord Volk still leads. There's contact between Coral and Milo, but Milo's on the outside.
He's
off the circuit.
No, wait, Milo
he can't retain that place.
No, Milo is going to lose the race one by taking that position off the track.
As we come across the line, I think Lord Volk wins.
There's no way.
Milo crosses the line first. Unbelievable finish.
There's no way that Milo keeps the race win, and that's coming from 2 Mercedes commentators. There's no way he keeps the race win having taken the lead of the race around the outside like that. He's taken the IndyCar line.
he was pushed off the circuit by Coral. There was contact. Good luck to the steward sorting that one out.
Oh, that is going to be... But it came down to 3 wide in the final 2 quarters. Lord Volk somehow held off Coral, and I think has just turned into blinder. Stark got caught up in something, has dropped all the way to 11th. Golly with a top 5 finish on those inters, but my goodness. That is going to be something to unpack. And what a way, what a way it comes at the end.
Driver of the day, Ark. I'm sorry, Ark. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd give it to your teammate for that one. What a race. Surely that's one of the great all-time FRS finishes.
Yeah, it is a wild one. And two solid racing laps with different tires on in wet conditions, and it was quite the dicing opportunity. But wow, that really that was a good race from start to finish. The dry condition running was fantastic up and down the field, and then it turned into an absolute dogfight in the last 3 laps.
I mean, the circuit did so much to lend to that racing at the end as well. When you consider that Lord Volk was just doing everything within his power to just cover the inside line the best he could. And then, it's going to be so hard to call in the steward's room because Coral did tap Milo and force him off the circuit. So if you penalise Milo to also put him behind Coral, is that fair? Who knows?
It's an interesting one, but finally we get to take a moment to breathe.
As it says on the screen, Milo wins from Lord Volk from Coral, but we have no idea how that will be called by the stewards, and it will be called by the stewards. Zados came back in 4th in the end, 1 place behind Coral, obviously. Garley dropped to 5th. Ark came through to 6th, actually, in the end. I think we missed all of that, and I'm so sorry to the midfield that we missed all of that. Archduke Corrigano in 7th. Riemann came through to 8th. Penachiro, after the drive-through penalty, comes back for a P9 finish. And Andrew Orthodox gets the final point for Haas, despite having no front wing and causing the safety car that started that all off in the first place. Well.
All I can say is that's why we have live stewards.
That was just... I mean, that was really, really, really good.
Absolutely. Props to Lord Volk for somehow not getting gobbled up in, the combination of turns 13, 14, 15. Somehow managing to stay ahead of that group, and through that, you would think, especially the flat-out right-hander, that long triple right, that's where the tire grip is going to be huge in those conditions, and somehow managed to stay just ahead. I think he was helped out a bit by the battling between Coral and Milo, but what a finish. I mean, 1 second splits the top 3. Incredible for the podium.
Stewards in shambles. Good luck. That's the best way I can put it. Well, we're migrating host. I think we're going to end up leaving the session very, very shortly. But, I mean, just, occasionally things happen that bring me to the top of the old vocal range. And that was one of those moments. Driver of the day for you, Quimbulus, who would you go for?
Oh, I got to go... You got to go Lord Volk. Out of position, started 12th, manages to nearly... maybe win the race. We'll still see. Made the one stop, the only stop to pit for those inters. That's the only stop they made all race. I think that's got to be my driver of the day.
Well, I'm tempted to go the same way. Who else could you go for? I think Milo had a good race, actually, and was the first of the front runners to make the call. We thought it was a dodgy call at first, but the wet tyre was the right one to be on. And they got essentially fortunate that the safety car brought them back into play. God, man. FRS is really good fun, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Really, really good fun.
It's a lot to unpack. Thankfully, this one was really good fun and excited shouting because the racing was so good. I'm sure people have seen and commented on my commentary of the Division 4 race, which was rough, to say the least.
If Lord Volk has lost that one with 2 corners to go, that will be heartbreaking. because deserved that win, really. Drove so well, drove better than everybody else in the intermediate conditions, had streaked clear of the field. Should they have pitted for the wet tyres? Hindsight says maybe yes. But, you know, they weren't the only one to stay on the intermediates. There was, I think, all of the top 5 stuck on the intermediates there in the end. But that gamble for most of them didn't pay off. The Lord, I mean, so close. Did everything possible to hold back the tide. It's up to the stewards, really, to call that one.
And you know, it's a bummer that it comes down to it. You don't get the answer right away, but you got to try and at least get the right answer for that one. But it's a provisional standings, so posts and stuff will go up as the provisionals, as they always do, and then get updated onto the standings sheets before next week. But that was a cracker of a race at Circuit of the Americas. I love the track, even though I always have been cursed here and have terrible races myself, but the battling that you see around this track can be second to none, and is today turned in through the weather on top of it to throw in that extra wrinkle, and it made it even more exciting. So that was a cracker of a race, so thank you for joining me and calling that one. I don't know how your voice is still functioning.
I think I need to go to bed. I mean, God, other things to consider. Remember, about what feels like 17 hours ago, Lord Volk had contact with Stark early in the race. There could be a steward's inquiry on that one as well. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Zados will win this race when all's said and done.
He was 4 seconds. He was 4 seconds off the lead. So if there's a few 5-second time penalties for contact, he's technically still in the window.
Who knows? That tends to signify an all-time classic FRS race. We'll tell you the result next week after it's been through the stewards' ring.
I think that might be one of the most Zord called of Zord races since Division 5 Spa. That was
happy to be back, shall we say? That was a doozy. We're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you to Quimbulus for joining me for that one and for actually hosting the stream and pressing all the buttons this evening. And thank you, special shout out to Riemann for all the work on the fancy graphics. If you're watching this back, go into the options, turn on broadcast player name. Makes it all look so much better.
Yes, and so there's still some work going on those quality graphics. I love how they've looked at the start. They looked fantastic. There's just a few tweaks to give them a little bit of time on screen. But it's so helpful from a broadcast perspective, especially just seeing, hey, person in 15th is on a lap. I know to jump to that person. So that should all help us cut with the coverage of quali. Apologies to everyone for the brief radio play in the middle when there was some cracker action going on. Thankfully, it didn't end up being the only action of the race. There was plenty of other action, but it is what it is. So we dealt with it our best, and thank you for calling the action in such wonderful fireside chat style.
You're very welcome. Everyone, or those who are well versed in their FRS lore, may remember, I guess one of the previous classic Zord commentaries was at the Red Bull Ring, I think in season 4. Red Bull Ring next week, if anyone fancies that. We will see you there.
Yeah, Red Bull Ring should be another opportunity for good shambles, but a final thank you to everybody who watched, everybody who raced for making it so great. We'll get this downloaded, chop the ends off, and make it pretty, and it'll go up on the YouTube. All the VODs, we're moving them off of Twitch. We're still highlight them and save them on Twitch if you want to watch there, but we are setting up playlists on the YouTube channel for FRS there, so you can go and watch the seasons much more easily. Also, most of them we are saving the client side recordings, so we can try and trim off some of the bit rating, and you should hopefully in most divisions have a little bit higher quality of the stream as well. But I will catch you guys next week. Thank you again so much, Zord. Can't wait to do it again. I guess we're only 5 days away from PC Division R.
Indeed, yeah. And for Division 2, same time, same place next week. God, I'm really, really wishing that I could watch this replay back by the pool tomorrow, but alas, I have to go to work. Well, never mind. That's a nice end to a holiday, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we'll see you in a week's time for more PC Division 2.